All right, welcome to another episode of Chicago Detox. And we are here to talk about solutions, right?
The solutions.
So we critiqued the old ways of making revenue, which were parasitic, and then some of the new ways, the modern ways that they have of making revenue, right? Which we agreed weren't long term.
Definitely.
So to be fair, we're going to come up with some of our own, and we encourage you to start thinking outside of the box on solutions to help create real revenue that are long-term and beneficial for everyone in the city.
Because we are, residents, and we all have to, live amongst each other. So
Exactly.
Why not
This is a collective problem, so there should be a collective solution.
help us help you?
So I am going to present one of my ideas. Is something that you are seeing growing in other areas, and it's based on community-based economies, right? Yeah. And so essentially, if you think of these adapters, right, businesses that plug into the communities but can plug out, the lack of economic basis, to me, is what's killing the community. Yeah. So for me, someone who's, from the south side of Chicago, South Shore, and then, went off to school in Durham, North Carolina, visit UNC in Chapel Hill, and saw reflections of community-based economies that were thriving because the university was thriving, right? Yeah. And how reciprocal, as the university was growing and benefiting, the communities were benefiting. As the communities are benefiting, the university is benefiting, right? Like a reciprocal hub. And I was like, why can't this work for communities and on a smaller sense, where you have workforce development in between having community-based set programs that have to generate money?
I think it was a component in the community when the actual community was a community. When say you used to go to I used to go to several people, but just say Miss Whiteside, who stayed next door to us, she had a candy store. You know what I'm saying?
Old school candy store.
That's that's money. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure if it's revenue that's trickling down to the community, but I'm quite sure whatever overs that she had, she would actually buy stuff in the community, when the community had all the same stores, it's if say when I grew up, in Chicago. So it's when we went to say we went to Ohio to a family reunion, when we went to Alabama, I don't really remember, but it was still a lot of the same stuff that I seen, the same, it was a grocery store, it was a gas station, it was a place you got food, it was, and it was more of a moms and pops kind of feel, it wasn't a corporate takeover. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. You had the relationship of
and that's
the business and the community.
Yeah, that's when the community was a community. Actually, say, one of my guys, such and such sister work at, anywhere, even if it was McDonald's, because that was probably one of the first, corporations that, that I probably seen. But, at the end of the day, that's when the community really was a community, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
When they say when Calvin got a job, that old school commercial. Maybe y'all don't remember, but anyway, but at the end of the day, that's what the community is lacking, because it's people who are in the community, Miss such and such, and they've been living there since back in the days, but it's only a very small percentage of people like them. You know what I'm saying? The people who own most of those houses, those are probably what are the vacant lots or the abandoned houses that you're seeing on every block.
So what would be an example of a community-based business that would help be reciprocal?
I have a prime example. Chicago Artistic Alliance, which will be, a actual hub of, creative individuals, like-minded, and pretty much the whole focus is to actually drive the community that we're in and, show the artistic value of, being, creative, show you, have basically giving people a outlet where they could, find themselves and, actually, be around people that are in similar situations, and we can all come up together. And as far as like the economy aspect of it, like I will employ the actual youth that that we're working with. They will be like the actual the staff, like the secretaries and the actual people that are pretty much the assistants that are working with the various, working on all the different programs that we have going on. But as far as like generating revenue, like it's pretty much multiple ways. But like with Chicago Artistic Alliance, what I want to do is like basically have a community led multimedia production company, to where it's like we create all of our own content, and we actually produce all the content, and we put it out. We have our own legal team, we have our own writers, we have our own camera people, we have our own editors, we have our own audio recorders, where we're basically doing everything ourselves, and we're pretty much our own network. We have journalists, we have radio hosts, and pretty much we do everything ourselves. And for one, that will for one, it'll be our intellectual property that that we own, and we could put it out there. But it'll just show you that, for one, we could, if we put our mind to something, we could do it. And as far as like the economic value, like I'm quite sure we could get some minority contracts as far as like doing some multimedia production for people, because like I say, it's right now it's election season. Like they need actual work, like they need media work, like, so the same cameras that we're using to film this and the same microphones, we could do the same exact thing. Like it's nothing. That's pretty much what I've been doing my whole entire life. So the reality of it is like just actually showing the community that we could do that, because the consumerism aspect of it, like if Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and such and such and such and such, they all need content, so pretty much if we create our content and get our base up, to whereas like they did, because all they're doing is actually like now they're producing content, but the content that they started with was actually licensed, so you could get, whatever movie that you need, Black Hawk Down, Friday, Boys and whatever, anything, like they licensed all that content, and we could do the same exact thing, look at Tidal. And I mean, I'm kind of babbling on, but at the end of the day, like
cool.
the reality of it is that's how I feel that Chicago Artistic Alliance could actually, help the city and what's going on. And it'll, expose people to what's going on with the media.
So it would allow people to become activators, right, in their communities, right? The change they want to see, they can be involved, right?
Definitely.
They can be telling their own stories.
Just
right?
how we're bringing this to you.
And when they become producers instead of consumers, we can become a producer-based city.
Definitely, because that's really where revenues become generated.
Long term,
you know, because for one, you own the actual rights to what you produced, and we'll teach you that. That's another thing within itself. But to actually create content, and own the rights to it, like that's longevity. That's something that you could actually pass down. That's what I talk to my daughter about, generational wealth. You know what I'm saying? That's real, and by creating content, that's one, because like I say, everybody, if you're sitting watching this, you're consuming content, so at the end of the day, like you sitting on YouTube, you sitting on anything on your phone, you like glued to the screen, like you're
might as well use it to your advantage,
so right. You might as well actually, flip that thing around and actually, do a selfie and start talking, because people are gonna actually, like check you out. That's pretty much the reality of it.
All right. So that was one great long solution.
Sorry for the vent.
No, it was great, and that's what we want.
Yeah.
Real energy. So another solution I came up with is called Heal the Code Red.
Yes.
So Heal the Code Red is about reducing the emotional distress that's plaguing our communities. What we know is that trauma creates more trauma. And without finding ways for us to cope and healing our communities, we're going to continue to be in a perpetual cycle of violence, hurt, and more trauma. Abusers create more abusers. And if we don't find the stop gap in that cycle, then we're gonna continue to fall short on reducing the violence in Chicago. So Heal to Go Red would be a healing center where people, those that are involved in light workers, who are healers, those who are into modern, healing medicine, they can be holistic healers coming together, bringing their talents in one hub, and teaching the youth ways of self-coping, and teaching adults who have lost their way. Because I can be honest, as a product of CPS, they didn't teach coping skills, that pertains to being a functioning adult, and transferable skills that can help if you're stressed and dealing with issues. How do you deal with that without being taught?
I mean, that's another episode.
Exactly. But Heal to Go Red would be a hub. One, it would be plugged into the communities. Just like how McDonald's is at a solar radius, you have another McDonald's. At a solar radius, when you're dealing with a pocket of people in a community, you need at least a safe space where they can go to de-stress. And we need de-stressors in the community. So de-stressors would help bring down, hopefully, the violence, because people would have a positive outlet to release that anger and that energy. And also use it as a place to bring back restorative justice, because we know restorative justice used to be a practice in indigenous cultures. And so ever since the colonizers came in, that has disrupted that culture. That has been taken away from our culture. So we want to bring that culture back and reinstate it in our communities so that everyone, no matter what racial lines, no matter what religious lines, we need safe hubs that help heal people and reduce stress in a safe space that doesn't judge you. And, we can't put it all on churches. Thankfully, we know churches can be a safe space, but it's time for us to expand out of churches. It's time for us to expand out of going to a mental health center. It's time for us to expand out of these outdated, boxed in ideas, fixed ideas, and try to expand beyond, okay, I can just go to this individual spot. No, why not go to a safe hub where you can get all types of healing, holistic healing practices, and it doesn't take away from the modern medicine, but it allows you can't go to the hospital and say, I want to de-stress. There is no medicine for that. So we need safe havens that will help those that might be a little hesitant to seek therapy, right? Some people are not into it. For me, I was abused by a therapist. So when you have those type of issues, for some of us not as traumatic, but some people don't want to open up just to anybody. A safe haven where you can feel comfortable to do that. A safe haven that teaches you how coping skills, positive outlets, those that help you reaffirm yourself and find your sense of self. And that's why I wrote a book called Self-Genesis for the Emancipated Minds Only, for the initiative of giving people back a theory, a practical approach on how to positively empower yourself, right? Outside of any outdated styles or outdated curriculums, let's modernize our thinking on how do we help build each other so that we can be productive citizens, not only for our family, but for our community and our city. All right, and those were our solutions. So we're happy to hear your solutions. We need as many solutions, thinking tanks. We need a think tank so that we as a city can start becoming more producer-minded and start thinking beyond these outdated status quo solutions. All right, and that was another episode of Chicago Detox. Peace.